You're late.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he too early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
That was good. Let's get another one.
Merry Brandybuck and Peregrine Took. I should have known.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
That still only counts as one! One of you must do this.
They're taking the hobbits to Isengard!
Your love for the halfling's leaf has clearly slowed your mind.
A day may come when the hearts of men fail, but it is not this day. Welcome, my lords, to Isengard.
Down, young rascals! You're smoking and eating!
The salted pork is especially ravishing.
Salted pork. Hobbits. Young Master Gandalf.
You must have agreed to something by now.
Agreed. Oh, we have just finished saying good morning.
Riders of Rohan, what news for the mark?
We shall have peace.
Wicked. Peace. No, but Master was precious. Master is our friend. You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you. Not listening. Not listening.
Frodo, the door.
Oh, Sticklebats, where is he?
Frodo! It began with the forging of the great rings.
I see you. My master bids thee welcome. I'm starving. We ain't had nothing but maggoty bread for 3 stinking days.
Yeah. Why can't we have some meat?
What about them?
They're fresh.
They are not for eating.
What about their legs? They don't need those. Just a mouthful. About the flank.
Kills the small orc.
Looks like meat's back on our menu, boys.
You are summoned here to answer the threat of Mordor. What do you fear, my lady? A cage.
You cannot pass! Go back to the shadow. I am a servant of the sacred fire. Dark fire will not avail you, flame of Uldoon! You shall not pass!
What is there to say about Peter Jackson and his team's adaptation of Tolkien's epic trilogy that hasn't already been said? There are so many video essays, so many lore intricacies, so many comparisons between the films and the books, so much appraisal of these movies as film adaptations, as well as movies in their own right. Return of the King alone gathered so many Academy Awards, and that was back when award shows actually meant something. I mean, seriously, what can I say at this point that hasn't already been said? There's a reason why people absolutely adore this trilogy.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy was a cinematic triumph across the board. The set design, the music, the cinematography, the quality of the original source material. But I think it's also a great example of perfect casting.
I mean, yeah, you'll have the occasional person who prefers the books over the movies, but at the same time, others will say that there's some things that the films actually do better than the books in some regards. But if you ask me, this film trilogy works so well as cinematic adaptations, keyword adaptations, that they are on par with the books. And I've actually read the Lord of the Rings series, so I would know by personal experience. I think the majority of my fanbase is familiar enough with Middle-earth. Do I even need to give you a plot synopsis? Well, I guess for the sake of modesty, I'll give you a plot synopsis in case you've been living under a stone all these years or something. The film trilogy is set long ago in the realm of Arda, created by Eru Ilúvatar. The great rings of power.
No! Get out of here! Get out of here!
The rings of leadership were established for men, elves, and dwarves to rule over their respective factions. But
With all rules, you pathetic little ant.
For you see, I, the Lord, was the mastermind the entire time.
For you see,
one ring was forged by the Dark Lord Sauron to rule over all the other rings. And with this one powerful ring, he set out to conquer Middle-earth. But fortunately, an army of men and elves resisted and managed to defeat Sauron. But the one ring that Sauron wore has this evil effect. You see, even after Sauron's demise, the ring has a way of corrupting people, tempting people into this promise of power. And every time someone puts the ring on, it turns them invisible. The slayer of Sauron, Isildur, took the ring for himself, but after getting attacked by a bunch of orcs, he lost it in a river and died. The ring was lost to time until it was picked up again by Sméagol, and the ring corrupted Sméagol to such an extent, giving him unnatural long life, and transforming him into the slimy, lanky creature Gollum, named after the horrible coughing sound he makes in his throat. Because Gollum wasn't really that big into conquest, he kept the ring for his own and hid up in the mountains, where he became this slimy predator of goblins and anyone unfortunate enough to come across his path. Until eventually he lost the ring and it fell into the hands of Bilbo Baggins. And yes, this is the exact event where Bilbo found this odd, mysterious ring in the events of the Hobbit book. So, going in to this movie, having been familiar with the Hobbit story thanks to my dad, it was quite exciting to find out that that ring that Bilbo found was actually part of something much bigger than what we'd originally anticipated, which really sets the stakes for the story. I mean, the introduction in itself is already absolutely fantastic, but it's escalated to new heights if you're familiar with the Hobbit book source material. So basically, the plot is the ring has granted Bilbo to live long enough to be 111 or 11T1. He's lived long enough to finalize his book There and Back Again, giving his own account of his journey with Thorin and company to the Lonely Mountain to fight off Smaug, to reclaim Thorin's home from Smaug the dragon. But during the celebrations, Bilbo leaves and retires for Rivendell and leaves the ring to Frodo, thanks to Gandalf's advice and assistance. Gandalf is suspicious of this ring that Bilbo has and tells Frodo that he'll be back after he does some research. When Gandalf gets back, he urges Frodo that he's in danger and he needs to take the ring elsewhere before the evil Sauron and his minions get it. So to make a long story short, Frodo, his Hobbit friends, meet up with other heroes alongside Gandalf. They make it to Rivendell, and there's a great gathering in regards to what to do with the ring. The elf leader Elrond reveals that this one ring cannot be destroyed by any conventional means. It's an enchanted ring that can only be destroyed where it was created, in the fiery lavas of Mount Doom. And only one of them will have the willpower to resist the ring's evil, tempting influence. And Frodo volunteers to take on this big task. And so the Fellowship of the Ring is formed, and they set off on a quest to destroy the One Ring and save Middle-earth.
Where are we going?
I could go on from there, but I'll just let you experience the rest, because from there, there's so many exhilarating moments. This trilogy did have a few missed opportunities for story tidbits that really would have elevated the narrative, like, for example, and I'm assuming you've seen the trilogy to know what I'm talking about, in Return of the King, it's revealed that Denethor also had a Palantir. It would have been useful to have him be portrayed to have that, because that would justify why he had a mental spiral downwards and justifying his evil tendencies, as well as explaining how Aragorn was able to access one in the Hall of the Kings there. I mean, we could just assume that he got from Gandalf, but the context matters. And I know a lot of people prepare the theatrical editions for some reason, probably something to do with the pacing or things like that. But at the same time, the extended editions offer more completion in regards to characterization, even with little scenes that might not seem to matter, but add so much richness to the characters and to the world, which further feeds into the themes and the timeless heroism. I can think of this one extended scene in The Two Towers, for example, where at the beginning of the film, there's an extended scene where Sam and Frodo are trying to make their way down. Sam accidentally drops something. He insists that Frodo catches it. He catches it. They both look like they've fallen down, but they manage to make it out all right. Frodo looks into the box, and Sam says that it's actually fine salt from the Shire that he wanted to have with roast chicken one night.
Roast chicken? You never know. Sam, my dear Sam.
Frodo laughs at this, but the both of them regard that it's a reminder of home, which further feeds into the themes of what they're fighting for. Meaningful additions. Not to mention, the extended edition of Return of the King actually brought closure to Saruman, mind you.
Can we not have peace, you and I?
We shall have peace. We shall have peace when you answer for the burning of the Westfold.
Gibbets and crows! Doubter!
And when the third film came on, I couldn't believe what I saw, because I wasn't in it. And the scene is one of the most important scenes in the whole trilogy, because it's Saruman against the Fellowship. And I'm on top of the Tower of Orthanc at Isengard, looking down at the Fellowship and saying very nasty things to them. And to Aragorn, this man from the woods will never be king, and so on. It's a long sequence. The final confrontation between the Fellowship and their greatest enemy. It wasn't in the film. Buy the extended DVD.
Now, yeah, true. I know people can say that the Return of the King adaptation missed out on the whole scouring of the Shire thing, which was hinted at in the Fellowship of the Ring. But in regards to cinematic adaptations, just having another intense finale on top of another intense finale would have been exhausting. And not to mention, Saruman had a fitting end in the Return of the King movie that was still fitting off his character, if you get what I mean. I mean, it would have been very intriguing to see the scouring of the Shire scene, but honestly, the finale itself was just so intense that you need to give the audience kind of a break. So that's something you need to keep in mind with this trilogy, that they work primarily as adaptations for cinematic experience. What translates well for a book won't always translate well for the films, and something I should note, and I'll expand on this in another video, the books didn't always get it right either. Gasp, I know, right? How could you say this, you heathen? Well, the thing is, even scholars will say that Tolkien was kind of meandering around when he was making the Fellowship of the Ring book. He didn't quite know where the story was going, so it led to some slow pacing, not to mention the whole Tom Bombadil plot point, which, whilst fascinating, when you really think about it critically, didn't really contribute to the plot in any significant way. So Peter Jackson and his team took the route of Ralph Bakshi and decided to cut that bit out. So the film trilogy does have its merit, and that's something I'll expand on in another video. But the point is, I could go on all day about who prefers what version of what you prefer and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I think most of us can unanimously agree that this film trilogy is so fantastic in its sheer quality. It's on par with the books. It's one of those rare adaptations from book to movie that reaches timeless heights.
Fellowship and Return of the King, Two Towers, it's all one movie. And it is my favorite movie of all time, for those of you who have asked what's my favorite movie of all time.
This film trilogy will go down in history with the likes of The Godfather Part 1 and 2, with the likes of Amadeus, and all such brilliant movies. Do I even need to give you a plot synopsis? I have been hinting at my adoration for Tolkien and these film adaptations for such a long time on this channel now. I've practically been doing it since day one with that voice impressions video that I made. In so many other videos, I'm comparing this and that to what Tolkien and Peter Jackson established. This movie trilogy, it's got it all. It's got drama, it's got intensity, it's got action, it's got comedy, it's got culture, it's got insight, it's got romance, it's got plotting, it's got despair, it's got hope, it's got it all. And from a filmmaking standpoint, the pacing in this movie trilogy is just perfect. And yes, I would insist you watch the extended editions as opposed to the theatrical cuts. I know people will complain in regards to pacing and whatnot, but honestly, the extended cuts gives you more insight to the characters, the world building, and in turn, the themes and the sheer richness of the world that Tolkien built. Which in turn goes back to the world building, I guess. I mean, it's quite telling that it helps that the source material involves peak world building, where Tolkien left such awe and wonder. And it's humbling to learn that this world building isn't just reduced to, hey, here's a lecture on a Wikipedia article. No, this world feels alive. That's what these kind of worlds are meant to feel like. They're meant to feel alive and lived in. This world has an entire history to it, to such a point where you can later check out other stories like the epic Silmarillion, or the children of Hurin and Beren and Luthien and other such tragedies, and you'll realize just how vast the scope of Middle-earth is. When watching the extended editions especially, I can't think of a single scene that I could pinpoint and say, that was a waste of time. Every scene in this trilogy is worth it. Every scene builds the characters. Every scene adds something meaningful. And these movies are just endlessly rewatchable, despite what few flaws there may be. There is a reason why the extended editions are being re-released for the 25th anniversary of this film series. And please do yourselves a favor. Go watch the extended editions in the cinema. Please, I implore you. The surround sound is really going to elevate the epic music score by Howard Shore. I suppose there are some bits in the movie that don't hold up too well. There's this one scene in the Two Towers where you think, yeah, bit of outdated green screen there. But it's nothing too distracting. I mean, you'll find the occasional flaw here and there, but honestly, the visual effects hold up tremendously well. It helps that they've got some genuine practical sets, mainly thanks to the sheer beautiful design of New Zealand. And yeah, you can tell that CGI would later develop more thoroughly in later years with the likes of Avatar and Dead Man's Chest and so on and so forth. But the sheer attention to detail with certain bits of CGI is absolutely tremendous, especially when Gollum is involved, which was such a revolutionary motion capture performance for Andy Serkis, which would guarantee he would do motion capture for practically the rest of his life. But even to this day, you could tell the team worked to the bone to get this creature to life. The sheer detail of the eyes and certain details on like the skin and all that, like, when I was watching it, I just think, wow, it just seems like a genuine creature. Like, obviously, with a lot of similar movies, like, you'll see the CGI creature and think, okay, there's a kind of a floaty quality to them, so the suspension of disbelief is a bit more difficult to have. But with Gollum, he seems like he's really there. Well, partially because, well, Andy Serkis actually was. So when there's scenes like when Gollum first encounters Frodo and Sam up close, they're wrestling with him, and there's this one bit particularly where Gollum's trying to wrestle Gollum and trying to reach the ring. There's a scene where you get a close-up of the hand, like you just see that the hand is just like, wow, like this is real. This is genuinely real. I mean, obviously digitally altered, but real nonetheless. You really get the sense of practicality of Gollum just going.
You think of the character as if he's a real person. After Lord of the Rings, it seemed as if motion capture was going to be a new unstoppable trend. However, despite there being numerous movies that utilised the same technology, 20 years later, nothing has even come close to topping Andy Serkis's portrayal of Gollum.
There's other little details like that with the spit that Andy Serkis brought up, and just other details combined with the already impressive practical effects from Weta Workshop. It's absolutely tremendous. Combined with the really clever use of miniature sets for big epic landscape shots. I love it when films do that.
How many towering cities and castles were actually just intricately constructed miniatures enhanced by CGI? And that's the key thing to remember here. Enhanced. CGI has definitely got its place in filmmaking, but it's supposed to be used to enhance rather than replace real locations.
And in light of all the woke bull buffoonery that we've had to put up with, it's so refreshing to look back at what Peter Jackson was aiming for with the Middle-earth films. And he said when he was making the Lord of the Rings trilogy that he and his team didn't want to insert any of their kind of ideologies into the film. They wanted to respect what Tolkien intended and let the film flourish from there, and would only adjust the film as was suited for a cinematic presentation. And because of that, these films are timeless.
We didn't want to put any of our own, certainly in terms of the thematic material, we didn't want to put any of our own baggage. I mean, we had no interest in putting our messages into this movie, but we thought that we should honour Tolkien by putting his messages into it.
This right here is why Lord of the Rings got it. This is why people still talk about these movies 2 decades later. This is why they're going to be beloved by generation after generation. There's still the same hunger for escapism, for new worlds where adventure and wonder are everywhere. There's still the same desire for heroic characters battling evil enemies, tales of friendship and sacrifice and bravery that aren't tainted by tedious modern political agendas. There's still the same need for stories that elevate our spirits, that inspire us to be better, to see beyond the trivial problems and drudgery of everyday life. Which probably explains why shows like Rings of Power, that try so painfully hard to bend Tolkien's world and characters around modern sensibilities, have already been forgotten before they've even finished their run. And you know what? I'm okay with all of this, because the story that really mattered has already been told. It's out there now, it belongs to all of us, and no matter how much modern writers might try to warp or twist or reshape it into their own vision of what we should want, it can never be taken away, because some things really do stand the test of time.
There are empowering women who don't feel like obnoxious girl bosses.
The female characters of The Lord of the Rings are actually good characters, and despite their limited presence in the stories, they manage to embody the feminine mythos and ideals. Tolkien's characters bring to life the beauty and the ugliness of our human nature, and the human condition belongs to both men and women. His characters offer both warnings and comforts, but most importantly, they show us what it means to be great men and women. And Éowyn, Arwen, and Galadriel to be a sister, a mother, and a queen.
Galadriel from The Lord of the Rings, she is just a prime example of what femininity is. Did I say that? Femininity. Yes, of what femininity is. She always stuck out to me, you know, she was always one of those characters that I saw as a role model. So that's why I love her, and that's why.
A unanimously powerful compassion shared by the heroes that really pushes the film forward. Honestly, my favorite scene in any movie is when Frodo is just clawing his way up Mount Doom. He can't go any further. Sam goes up to him and tries to remind him of the better times of the Shire. Frodo's long forgotten it, and then Sam says, "I can't carry the ring for you, but I can carry you! Come on!" And he gives him, he lifts Frodo up on his back. The music blurts out in the background. He keeps it going. I felt my heart racing, kind of like, oh, 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 oh. I was thinking, come on! Come on, you're almost there. And it just keeps escalating from there. It's just one of the most epic finales you're ever going to see. Just filled with all kinds of epicness and despair and hope and what Tolkien described as the eucatastrophe. It's epic. This trilogy is nothing short of epic. course I'm gonna give this series a 12 out of 12. What did you expect? This series is lightning in a bottle. You haven't seen it already? What are you doing? Go watch the extended editions in cinema! Show the corporate clowns at Hollywood that we still care for genuine art. Do you agree with me? Comment down below to say likewise. I mean, honestly, this video was less of an approval of the series and more of a love letter to the trilogy. See, there's a reason why we compare other kinds of stories of a similar caliber to this series, because films like these pretty much are the standard. And that's a unique stance that you have to take as a critic, as a reviewer. It's that when you're criticizing something else that doesn't work, you have in your mind something that does work. And the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it's one of those kinds of entertainment that just works. Do I even need to say any more? I've made my case. I've made my case. I rest my case. I leave the rest to you. Scotsmeyer signing out.
It's just... I'm afraid to do it. Even the smallest person can change the course of the future.
What is there to say about Peter Jackson's almost said Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson.
You shall not pass! You...